So what do you take out of these practices when obviously your guys' number one job they can't really do?
Yeah, it's always hard with no pads on. The biggest thing is just making sure they understand the scheme, what we're trying to do, obviously who to block, just as much technique stuff as we can get down, footwork, all that stuff. That's probably the biggest thing when you don't have pads on.
You've got some highly successful veterans like David and Ryan and Corey specifically that have been doing this for a long time, and they've been doing it one way. So when, a little bit like we were talking with Luke and Aaron, he's done the same type of thing for 13 years. With those guys, is there much forgetting what you knew before, or is there still a care?
There's a little bit of that where we're asking them to do some new things that they haven't really done before, but for O-linemen, it's just come off the ball. O-linemen like to do that, so it's not, be aggressive. All that stuff that we're talking about is just stuff that really feeds naturally into being an O-lineman. And I think these guys, they realize where they're at in their career and different points, but all those guys want to be coached and they want to improve and they're hungry for success. So it's pretty easy coaching those guys.
And talking to Corey about how you have fit in the room, and as being an offensive lineman, that's a room that the BS meter is pretty in tune,
Yeah.
So they know when a guy knows what he's talking
Yeah.
about. And Corey said one of the things that he's impressed with about you is that oftentimes you can anticipate the question before it comes.
Yeah.
And you've got an answer right there. So I'm curious, how did you become so learned in this system? Because you were only in San Francisco for a short time. Did you have a greater background in
Yeah,
what,
I did.
What do you think gives you that ability?
So my first actual introduction to this type of scheme was when I played here back in 2006 and 7. It was like the first time I was ever introduced to like a true zone scheme. And then 2008, 9, and 10 when I was with the Houston Texans, that's obviously Gary Kubiak. Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. So that's kind of my first introduction, like all in on it, where I was introduced to this particular scheme. So that's kind of how it all started.
That was Jags running the offense here, right?
Yeah, yep.
So when the ability to kind of anticipate the question,
Yeah.
is it because you went through it as a player?
Yeah.
You had the same question,
Yeah.
so you kind of know what they're going to come at you with?
Yeah, being a player, you kind of can say, hey, I can relate to why you thought this or why you thought that because of, whatever you're seeing. You can understand why they thought what they did because you've gone through it yourself. So I definitely think that helps.
What are the differences, if there are any, between the way a leaner guy would play the guard position, somebody maybe built like Billy that's a little taller and leaner, versus somebody that has your more traditional build like Lane or Justin or Lucas?
Yeah, it's just how they attack guys. Some guys can, if you're bigger, like in pass pro, you can absorb more and kind of take on bull rushes, where if you're smaller, you have to be more aggressive and get on guys faster. In the run game, kind of the same deal. Lighter guys, usually they're quicker, they can get on guys faster, but they just got to make sure their technique's even better because they can't drive guys as well. So it's just a matter of kind of what your style is and playing to that.
Do you like what you've seen from Billy so far?
I do, yeah. And again, we don't have pads on or anything like that, but he's got a great attitude. He's really good in the room. Really good out in practice. He's hungry to get better, just like all the other guys. And I'm very happy that he's here.
Kind of along those lines, I know it's hard to give a complete answer without having the pads on. But what have you seen from Cole, just getting back acclimated? And
Yeah, you can tell that he's been gone for a year from the game. There's some things that he's got to improve on, but he's doing a good job. We're asking him to do a lot of things. We're putting a lot on his plate, playing guard and center. So he's handling it pretty well. So at first his head was kind of spinning. You can see as we go on, he's kind of getting more and more comfortable. So hopefully by the time camp rolls around, he'll be rolling.
You were around Staley in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He's really good. What have your impressions been of David being, I mean, besides his beer chugging prowess? Watching him on film, watching him even without pads on, and then there was a day, I think at the first OTA we got to see, where he went through a pretty long process with you and Coach, your assistant coach.
Coach Butkus.
Butkus.
Yeah.
Hard to imagine forgetting that name.
Yeah.
But he, like, really extensive questions as well.
Yeah, like, guys like Dave and guys like Joe Staley, guys like Brian Bulaga, who are very intelligent players, it's funny things like in the meeting when you're talking to the young guys about, all right, this is the play, or this is what we're trying to do, you're very basic, and then in the back, those guys will chime in, and you'll have to tell the young guys, hey, don't pay attention, all right? You guys don't listen to this because it'll just confuse you because we're on the 500 level of whatever we're doing. So, yeah, it's cool to have guys like that who are really focused on the details and focused on just being as perfect as they can be with everything, so.
So did the coaches, when you were playing, have to do that with Tauscher and Clifton when they would chime in?
I don't specifically remember that, but yeah, those guys were on a whole another level when I was here. It was pretty cool being around those guys.
How do you think Lindsley fits in the scheme? He was pretty
He's
athletic
perfect,
coming out, so
yeah.
I would assume he fits pretty well.
Yeah, I'm really excited about what he's going to do this year. I think he's a great fit.
What are your impressions of the running backs that your guys are going to be blocking for, and how they can mesh up with what you're trying to do?
Yeah, they're a few different types of running backs, but again, it's kind of hard to see what kind of runners they are once no one's really hitting them, so they're getting better every practice. You can tell, with what they're doing a good job. Coach Sermons is getting them right, and it's a process too of kind of how they read plays and stuff like that, where they have to learn the system just like the O-line, like everything ties together. So, yeah, it's exciting to see them move forward.
Just how big will the challenge be to get the outside zone to where it needs to be once you finally do get that pad? Because you don't get to go pads every day either in camp.
The good thing, about that scheme is you can pretty much run it full speed without pads on, just because it's not downhill gap schemes where you got pullers and kicking people out and stuff. You can get a lot of good work without pads. So I think that helps us.